This is Revelations.Unveiled.Detroit. Preventing the rise of a black messiah. The U.S. government's efforts to discredit Martin Luther King and other civil rights leaders illustrate the lengths to which it will go to stifle left-wing movements. 40 years ago today, a bullet severed the spine of a man whom many the world over thought of as a prince. We have all seen the picture of the hotel balcony where that prince stood and fell, surrounded by his entourage, all pointing, presumably, in the direction from which the bullet came. All but one. One man was not standing, not pointing, but kneeling by Martin Luther King's body, presumably checking to see if, or that he was dead. That man, Merrill McCullough, was an undercover police officer who had infiltrated King's Circle, according to Time magazine. He worked for the Central Intelligence Agency at least as far back as 1974. What interest could an intelligence agency have in a man who plainly believed only in peace? In August 1967, 4 months after King called the U.S. government the greatest purveyor of violence in the world today, 3 months after 30 members of the Black Panther Party marched armed into the California state capitol and onto the front pages of newspapers worldwide, J. Edgar Hoover, the head of America's domestic law enforcement agency, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, issued the following directive. The purpose of this new counterintelligence endeavor is to expose, disrupt, misdirect, discredit, or otherwise neutralize the activities of black nationalists, hate-type organizations and groupings, their leadership, spokesmen, membership, and supporters. By hate-type organizations, Hoover explained that he meant such groups as the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, the Congress of Racial Equality, and the Nation of Islam, the group Malcolm X belonged to until shortly before his 1965 murder. In February 1968, there was a massive demonstration in support of the then imprisoned leader of the Black Panthers, and Stokely Carmichael and H. Rap Brown merged SNCC with the Panthers. Hoover issued another directive: prevent the rise of a messiah who could unify and electrify the militant black nationalist movement. Malcolm X might have been such a messiah. Martin Luther King, Stokely Carmichael, and Nation of Islam leader Elijah Muhammad all aspire to this position. King could be a very real contender for this position should he abandon his supposed obedience to white liberal doctrines of nonviolence. According to another declassified FBI memo, shortly afterward, the FBI proposed having a carbon copy of an informant report reportedly written by Carmichael to the CIA, carefully deposited in the automobile of a close black nationalist friend. It is hoped that when the informant report is read, it will help promote distrust between Carmichael and the black community. FBI agents called Carmichael's mother, falsely telling her that Black Panthers were out to kill her son. Soon after, Carmichael left the country. While the guns that killed Malcolm X were held by black hands, we now know that his bodyguard that day, he was shot. Or we now know that his bodyguard that day he was shot was an undercover police agent who later infiltrated the New York chapter of the Black Panther Party and charged many of its leaders with various crimes. The Panther 21 were acquitted of all terrorism charges, but during their 2-year incarceration, the chapter disintegrated. Panther bodyguards had a habit of not doing a very good job. The 21-year-old leader of the Panther Chicago chapter, Fred Hampton, was murdered by Chicago police after they raided his home at 4:45 the morning of December 4, 1969. Police fired 100 rounds into the building, most directed toward Hampton's bedroom. Hampton's personal bodyguard, William O'Neill, had drawn a floor plan of the house for the authorities. It is felt an FBI agent wrote to Hoover after the killing that this information is of considerable value in consideration of a special payment for informant requested in the Chicago letter. O'Neill was paid $300 by the FBI after the Hampton murder. In 1982, the city of Chicago paid the families of survivors of the raid and its 2 victims $1.85 million. So family. This is the Federal Bureau of Investigation of the United States of America, the country for which you believe that you are a citizen, an equal rights member to the Constitution or the law of this land. But from this article, we see that the director of this national institution has created a program, an agenda to stifle, to snuff out, to destroy, to discredit organizations and leaders and the leadership of Negro, Black, Afro or African Americans here on these shores. So family, the question is, are we citizens? Are we frenemies? Or are we the enemy? And then the question is, why are we the enemy? What have we done to or against this country? Why is our organization for positivity? Why is our elevation politically, financially, and socially such a threat to this nation? What is the secret to us coming together, being together, sharing together, spending together, loving together, growing together, educating ourselves together, healing together, being in total spiritual oneness with the supreme power together? Why is that a threat to this country? Why does the investigative branch have to compose agendas and programs and sinister developments and malevolent satanic machinations against us, the people, the descendants of those whose ancestors were brought here in captivity, served in bondage and national institutionalized slavery, Jim Crow laws, prison codes, black codes. What is it about us that we have to be crafted upon within the halls of the national government? We shall continue the exploration, the uncovering, and the unveiling to our true identity, our true purpose, the reason for the hatred against our being together as a community of peace and love and healing and the creation of those things, of the righteous acts for the benefit of all humanity. So family, we shall reconvene in love and joy and safety and comfort. And until we are together again, I love you. I love you. I love you. This was the Counterintelligence Program, the agenda to prevent the rise of the Black Messiah. This is Revelations.Unveiled. Detroit.